Hi, everybody. Sam here. I am so excited to be here with my new friend, Erin. We're here for a micro interview. If you are new to Safe Heart Connections, I'm so glad you found us. If you've been around for a while, I'm glad you came back. I believe that you can create any life or business you love one choice at a time. And maybe something we talk about today will be the thing that you need to hear to help you get to the next step in your journey. And before I hit record, Erin and I were having a conversation about conversations and about talking and being real and being heard. And I gave some great examples of what I've seen just playing out in my own world. I've been very intrigued with listening to her story, and I'm super, super excited to connect you with her today. So, Erin, would you please introduce yourself and tell everybody watching or listening your what I like to call your superhero origin story?
Sure. Thank you, Sam. I'm really excited to be here and hi to all your listeners. So, my name is Erin Snow. I own Seacoast Listening Lounge in Hampton, New Hampshire, but I'm sure your listeners are from everywhere, and so am I. I'm virtual too. So, I started Seacoast Listening Lounge about a year ago. My background is actually in legal. I worked for legal aid here in New Hampshire. I'm a paralegal and I worked with victims and survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking in their protective order cases and in their family law cases, so divorce and parenting. And one thing that repeatedly, I did that for about 16 years. And one thing that the clients that I worked with said repeatedly was that, Erin, nobody's listening to me. I'm telling my story. I'm telling my story. And I feel like I'm on this crowded street and screaming, and everybody's just continuing to walk by me. Nobody is hearing me. And that really resonated with me. I'm a survivor myself. I had those same feelings. And then years ago, or not years, feels like years maybe, but I was going through a divorce and I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't want to, I was afraid to tell people because what would they think? What would they say? Would they try to talk me out of it? And I didn't want any of that, but it felt isolating. I felt very alone. So a year ago, I'm remarried. A year ago, I was sitting on the beach with my husband. And I was like, you know what? I think what I want to do is I want to start this business where I listen to women. I'm trained in empathetic listening. I'm trained in trauma informed advocacy. That's my expertise. I want to use that expertise and be able to hold space for women who have these stories to share that don't feel safe or comfortable doing it, whatever the reason is. And it could be I just was recently diagnosed with an illness and I don't know how to talk about it with my loved ones. Or I just found out my husband was cheating and what do I do with that? I'm so mad. Or anything. As women, we have so many things going on in our lives. We're caretakers, we're mothers, we're friends, we're sisters, we're all of those things. And we don't always have the space to talk about that. And so I didn't want any woman to ever feel like my clients felt or like I had felt like there wasn't a space that wasn't therapy where someone would just listen to me without judgment. So that's why I created Seacoast Listening Lounge.
Wow. So, ladies, I think you know why, if you've been around for a while, why I'm drawn to Erin's story, because she doesn't know that I got out of an abusive marriage in
Mm,
2015 as well. And one of the key reasons I created Safe Heart Connections was because I never wanted a woman to feel alone. And so
mhm,
it's been almost 10 years now, 2016, the beginning of 2016 is when I started Safe Heart Connections.
mm,
And it's changed and evolved over the years. And so we don't specifically work with women that are getting out of abuse. But what I have found is most of the women that come to Safe Heart Connections are dealing with an issue with self-worth that
mm,
leads them to tolerate or be able to be in these situations that cause pain,
mhm,
drama, chaos in their lives. And so I've melded all my modalities to basically teach and share that you truly can create a life or business you love one choice at a time. And having people like you to come and listen, because I'll tell you, when I was going through that, like nobody, I literally finally had the courage to tell the pastor at my church, his
mhm.
wife standing right there. And unfortunately, I picked the wrong time to do it because I have to go start the church service. Let me know how that works out for you. Literal words. Let
Wow.
me know. His wife looked at me and she didn't say it, but I know she was thinking, what the,
Yeah.
we're at church, so we're not going to say it, but you know what I was
Yeah.
going to say.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, and not being heard and feeling like you're all alone, especially, and I know you don't work just with abuse victims at this point.
Right.
It literally
Right.
can be getting
Mhm.
fired from a job, or like I
Right.
was telling this story before I hit record that I was talking with one of my best friends and I was doing some verbal processing about a situation. It's not a bad situation, it's just what we're doing in life right now. And I had this aha moment that I don't know that I would have had I
Mhm.
not been verbal processing with someone I trusted. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So,
Exactly.
ladies, I'm going to make sure that Erin's links are all around this to where you can get connected with her. But the kind of the mainstay part of what we do for these micro interviews is have our guests share a tip, thought, or piece of advice that could benefit anybody listening. And I'd love, Erin, for you to share what's on your heart to share today.
Yeah, I had a couple of tips in my mind, but then the story, Sam, that you just shared, and first of all, I'm sorry that was your experience. But there are going to be times when people approach you and they need to be heard, but you as the listener aren't going to have the time, you might not have the space, and that's okay. There isn't always this expectation that you will drop things. Certainly if you can, great, but that's not always possible. But you still, so my tip is this: if you are approached by someone who says, I need to talk to you about this, and it seems very urgent or important, you can tell it's weighing on them. If you aren't able in that moment to have that conversation with that person, that's okay. But instead of walking away and saying, I hope that all works out for you, say something like this: what you have to say to me is important. I want to hear you. I unfortunately don't have, I'm not in a space where I can do that for you right now, but I want to. And when can I do that? Because it is important to me. So stressing that this is important and that this person matters. And if you personally don't have the ability to do it in that moment, that's okay, because we need to respect that. But make sure that person knows that you want to do it and you will do it, but you want to find it time and a space where you can be fully present for that conversation, because nobody wants to start talking about these deep, oftentimes emotional things, and they're like, yeah, looking at their watch or checking their phone, I gotta go, hurry it up. No, let's not do that. And that's okay. Just say, you're important, this is important, I want to find a time and a place when I can be fully present for what you need. That's my tip.
Uh, that's so good. As you were talking, I love it. And curious what you would say if somebody approaches you and you're not the right person to listen.
Yeah. So I am not a therapist. I'm very clear that I am not a therapist. Some people aren't looking for therapy and they're looking for someone to listen, and that's fine. But I'm not dealing with people who are in an immediate crisis situation. I know how to deal with those situations because of my prior work experience. So I know that in my capacity now as a professional listener, I'm not that person. That person does need a therapist. So the great thing is I'm connected to people who are the right person for that person in the moment. And so I can say, you know what, I'm not the person, but I know somebody who is, and I'm going to get the two of you connected and do that for them. And similarly, somebody else out in the world who I've been connected with says, hey, I'm not the right person, but I think you really need someone to listen to you. You genuinely need someone who can sit with you and listen. Erin's a great person for that. I'm going to connect you to. So, yeah, I definitely know the boundaries and thank my prior training for that, and will definitely and capably make those connections if needed.
When that happened to me with the church, what I recognized, and this is not just about the church, this is
Mm-hmm.
about just humanity in general, when they don't
Mm-hmm.
know what to do with something, they don't know what to, they just don't know. And I
Yeah.
don't think what you just said was actually what I would have loved to have had happen with that, and
Mm-hmm.
saying, you know what, that sounds really hard. I don't know what to do, but I have some resources. So especially if you're working with people and having connections and you're having real conversations, knowing what a few of the resources are in
Yep.
your area can really be helpful. And then also, Erin, right? And so, but if someone's really in crisis, having, um, I wrote my book, Living in Overflow, and at the beginning of it, it talks about how I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist. If
Mhm.
you're in immediate help, like you need to call the helpline, right? That
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
thing. And so
Yep.
having that information available to where when you know someone's in crisis, to be able to give them information and just even saying, man, that sounds really hard. I'm so
Mhm.
sorry. I truly am. And I know that I'm not the one that can help you, but XYZ or this service could. There's
Right.
research that shows, and I think a lot of stats are made up. So I don't know what the stat is. I could make one up right now and pretend it's real. I won't do that though. But there's research that shows that someone that's suicidal, if they're out living their life and someone looks at them and smiles
Mm.
and just acknowledges them,
Mhm.
there's a more likely chance that they won't do that
Mhm.
thing. And
Mhm.
so just seeing someone, hearing them, acknowledging them as a human,
Yep.
that it's hard, truly be saving someone's life.
Absolutely. A lot of it is just validation and I believe you and I hear you and I see you and I'm listening to you. Like they don't need you to fix it for them. They don't need you to give them the next step or the answer. They just want you to be present and to hear them. Like that, I found that in my legal career too. Yeah, we were trying to get someone a protective order. And unfortunately, not all protective orders can be granted. But even in the ones that weren't granted, as difficult as that was for our clients who weren't able to get protective orders, they did walk away knowing I got to tell my story. I got to tell my story in a way that I felt comfortable with and safe telling you this story, and you heard me. And so, yeah, I didn't get maybe the legal outcome that I wanted, but I got this human level outcome that I was hoping for.
Yeah, that's so good. Erin, I'm truly excited to be connected with you. And ladies, if you're watching or listening, make sure you click through to check out what she has going on. I know she does virtual sessions, group and individual, and then you do stuff in person if you're in Connecticut or you know somebody
New
over that
Hampshire.
way.
Yep,
I'm
New
sorry.
Hampshire.
Oh,
We're close. We're close. You're in the New England area.
New Hampshire. New Hampshire. I'll just leave that in. Oops. That's real life. That's real life. Yeah, it all seems the same when you're in Texas and you have a big giant Texas, then you have all these little ones that could fit in Texas. Sorry, in New Hampshire. And make sure you click through, get connected to Erin, and I hope that we'll be able to stay connected, Erin, as well,
Yeah,
and see how
absolutely.
I might be able to help you get the word out more because what you're doing really is making a difference in
Thank
the
you.
world.
I
Do you have
appreciate that.
any,
Thank you so much.
of course, do you have any closing thoughts today before we wrap up? Anything you wish I had asked or something you'd
No,
like to leave as a final thought?
no, just that your voice matters. Your voice matters. Find the people that will hear you. And there are people out there who genuinely want to hear you. I am one of them, but there are people out there. So your voice matters. And that's what I'll say.
Yeah, I don't think it's in this book, but on the back of have a course, a 10-week course that is called the Self-Love Makeover. And literally on the back of it, and I
Hmm.
usually, this is how I sign off most of my things is your voice matters, the world needs you, and you are loved.
Perfect.
So Erin, we are kindred spirits for sure. So I
Yeah,
truly appreciate your time today,
thank you.
and I
You as
can't wait
well.
to share this out. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.